Have you ever met someone who always says, "Yeah, I'm good," but something in their eyes tells a different story? Maybe they laugh at the right moment, keep conversations light, and even help everyone else solve their problems. But deep down, you just know they're carrying something heavy. And the strange part, people like this don't break down in front of others. They break down quietly inside their own mind. Today, we're talking about the psychology of those who pretend to be okay, even when they're not. And trust me, their story is deeper than you think. There are people around us, maybe a friend, maybe a sibling, maybe even you who've mastered the art of holding themselves together. They walk into a room with a calm face, answer every "how are you?" with a simple "I'm fine," and smile just enough to make others believe them. But what most people don't realize is that this calmness isn't always peace. Sometimes it's practice. Sometimes it's habit. Sometimes it's protection. People who pretend to be okay didn't become this way out of nowhere. There's usually a quiet story behind it, a story they rarely talk about. Let me explain it like a scene. Imagine someone standing in front of a mirror, getting ready for the day. They look at themselves, not to admire, but to check if their mask is in place. They adjust their expression, take a deep breath, and whisper, "All right, let's be okay today." Not because they feel okay, but because they need to look okay. This is where the psychology begins. One of the biggest reasons people hide their emotions is fear of being misunderstood. They've had moments where they opened up before, but someone responded with, "Stop being dramatic. You're overthinking. You'll be fine. Don't make it a big issue." So now they stay silent, not because their feelings disappeared, but because they stopped trusting others to handle their truth. Another reason is responsibility. Some people feel like they must always be the strong one. Maybe everyone depends on them. Maybe they're expected to stay calm. Maybe they grew up believing that emotions are a burden, so they smile not for themselves, but for everyone else. They become the person who listens to others, comforts others, supports others. Yet when it comes to their own feelings, they shrink. They say, "It's fine. I'll deal with it." And the world believes them because they're so good at acting okay. But behind closed doors, something different happens. Their silence becomes louder. Their thoughts run deeper. Their smile fades when no one is looking. It's not sadness. It's not weakness. It's a kind of quiet emotional fatigue that comes from pretending for too long. Psychologists call this emotional masking, hiding your true feelings to maintain social harmony. But in reality, it's not just masking. It's survival. These people fear that if they show too much emotion, they might lose control. They're scared that if they open even one door inside their mind, all the other locked rooms will open too. And that's a risk they don't want to take. So instead, they choose to function. They work. They answer messages. They do what needs to be done. But emotionally, they live in a place between feeling and not feeling. A kind of in-between zone where they're present, but not fully alive. Yet, here's the surprising part. People who pretend to be okay are often the most emotionally intelligent. They sense things deeply. They understand pain better than anyone. They read people's energy. They notice small changes, tone, expressions, silences. Why? Because they've spent years observing emotions. While hiding their own, they become the friend who always knows when someone else is hurting. They become the one who gives the best advice. They become the comfort everyone relies on. But the one thing they struggle with most is receiving the same comfort back. not because they don't deserve it, but because they don't know how to accept it. Inside them, there's a conflict. One part wants to be seen. The other part is afraid of being seen fully. One part wants connection. The other part is scared of explaining everything they've held inside. This inner battle is exhausting, yet somehow they still wake up every day and try again. That's not weakness. That's strength. Real strength isn't in showing emotions loudly. Sometimes it's in surviving quietly. And here's the truth most people don't realize. People who pretend to be okay don't want pity. They don't want dramatic reactions. They don't want to be fixed. They just want one thing. A space where they feel safe enough to remove their mask. A space where someone says, "You don't have to be strong right now. Just be you." Because the moment they feel understood, even a little, the mask begins to melt. The walls begin to loosen, and they slowly learn that they don't have to pretend forever. Asterisk, there comes a point in everyone's life when pretending starts to feel heavier than the truth itself. Not because the truth becomes easier, but because the mask becomes harder to hold. And that's exactly where many of these I'm fine people silently live, in the gap between who they show and who they are. Imagine this. It's late at night. Everyone in the house is asleep. The world is quiet, the lights are off, and there's no reason to pretend anymore. They sit on the edge of their bed, staring at their phone, not to scroll, not to reply, just to distract their mind enough so it doesn't wander into the thoughts they've been avoiding all day. This moment is where their real self appears. The version of them nobody sees. During the day, they are composed. At night, their thoughts become louder than the silence around them. The truth is, people who pretend to be okay aren't emotionless. They feel everything deeply, intensely, sometimes painfully, but expressing it feels foreign, almost uncomfortable. They don't know where to start. They don't know how much to say. They don't know if the other person will understand. And so, they keep the mask on. One of the strongest psychological patterns behind this behavior is self-reliance. These individuals convince themselves that they must carry every burden alone. They believe that relying on others is risky, that asking for help means losing control. Their mind has learned to say, "I'll handle it. I don't want to bother anyone. No one needs to worry about me." This self-reliance looks strong on the outside, but inside, it isolates them. Another deep reason is fear of emotional overflow. When someone pushes down emotions for months or years, they worry that if they finally open up, everything will pour out at once. They fear crying uncontrollably, saying too much, or revealing thoughts they've never spoken aloud. So instead of opening that emotional door even a little, they keep it locked, and the lock becomes their coping mechanism. But the mind doesn't forget what the heart refuses to say. So the emotions show up differently, in irritability, in overthinking, in sudden silence, in lack of motivation, in exhaustion that sleep can't fix. It's not sadness, it's emotional overflow trying to find a way out. People who pretend to be okay often become the emotional pillars in every friendship or family. They're the ones everyone calls when they need advice, comfort, or strength. They absorb other people's pain like a sponge, while their own pain sits quietly in the background. They become the safe place for others, but rarely have a safe place for themselves. And here's the part most people overlook. These individuals don't want to be told, "Just open up," or "You should talk more." What they want is a space where opening up feels natural, not forced. They want gentle presence, not pressure, not interrogation. Because even the strongest hearts can become tired of being strong, alone. Let's talk about something even deeper, something raw, real, and rarely understood. They aren't pretending to be okay because they want to hide. They're pretending because they've learned that showing pain doesn't always lead to comfort. Sometimes it leads to disappointment. Maybe someone betrayed their trust. Maybe someone made fun of their feelings. Maybe someone walked away when they needed them most. Or maybe no one even noticed when they weren't okay. Experiences like these shape their psychology. They teach the mind a cruel but powerful lesson. If I speak, I might regret it. If I stay silent, at least I'm in control. So silence becomes safety. Pretending becomes routine. And emotions become something to manage, not express. But here's the twist, and it's a hopeful one. Even the people who seem the strongest also want understanding. They want connection. They want space where they don't have to wear armor, not special treatment, not sympathy. Just a moment where someone sees them, the real them, beneath the smile. And this is where healing often begins. Not with a dramatic breakdown, not with forcing them to talk, but with someone who stays, someone who listens without judgment, someone who says, "You don't have to explain everything. I'm here." For people who pretend to be okay, this kind of presence is more powerful than any advice. Because, for the first time, they feel safe enough to breathe, not act, safe enough to speak, not hide, safe enough to be human. Not perfect, because at the end of the day, even the strongest people need softness. Even the calmest people need comfort. Even the quietest people need someone who hears the silence they never talk about. And maybe, just maybe, behind their strongest version lies a heart that simply wants to rest. A heart that doesn't want to pretend forever. There is a quiet moment in every pretender's life. A moment they never talk about. A moment so subtle that most people would never notice it happening. It's the moment when the mask cracks. Not because they choose to remove it, but because carrying it becomes harder than carrying the truth. This moment doesn't happen in front of a crowd. It doesn't happen during big emotional scenes. It happens in the smallest, softest, most unexpected ways. Maybe they're driving home late at night and a song comes on. Not a sad song, not an emotional song, just a song that somehow reaches the part of their heart they've been avoiding. And suddenly, their throat tightens. Their eyes sting a little. Not enough to cry, just enough to remind them they're still human. Or maybe they're sitting with someone they trust. A friend who doesn't ask too many questions. Someone whose presence doesn't demand anything. And out of nowhere, they feel something unfamiliar but warm. The urge to finally be honest. This is the moment the mask gets heavy. You see, people who pretend to be okay don't want to break down dramatically. They want to open up quietly, gently, like someone slowly opening a window after a long winter. Their mind whispers, maybe I don't have to hold everything alone. Maybe I can say a little. Not everything, just enough. But even this tiny step feels huge. Because for someone who always stays strong, even a small confession feels like a mountain being moved. And still, something inside them begins to shift. Because pretending is exhausting. Carrying emotions alone is exhausting. And being the strong one all the time is a burden their heart never signed up for. There comes a point where silence doesn't protect them anymore. It isolates them. And in that isolation, they begin to feel a truth they've ignored for too long. Strength is not in pretending. Strength is in allowing yourself to be seen. But let's make one thing clear. Opening up doesn't happen in one moment. It happens slowly, carefully, like peeling away layers that took years to build. It starts with small truths. I'm a little tired. It's been a rough week. I just need some time. Or sometimes, a simple, quiet, powerful, I don't know. These words might seem ordinary to others, but for someone who hides everything, this is emotional bravery, because people who pretend to be okay aren't afraid of emotions. They're afraid of being judged for having them. They fear someone will say, "You're overreacting. This isn't a big deal. You're strong, you'll handle it." They don't want those answers. They want presence, acceptance, gentleness. People like this open up in the same way flowers bloom, not in noise, but in patience. Quietly, slowly, when the environment feels safe. And here's the most beautiful part. When they finally let themselves be real, even for one moment, something in their heart softens. Something in their mind relaxes. The pressure they've been carrying for years releases just a little. Not enough to solve everything, but enough to breathe again. Enough to feel again. Enough to remember they are more than their silence. Because behind every calm face is a human being. A soul with stories, fears, memories, dreams, disappointments, and hopes. Behind every "I'm fine" is someone wishing they were understood without having to explain. And maybe they don't need someone who fixes them. Maybe they just need someone who stays. Someone who doesn't push. Someone who doesn't rush. Someone who simply says, "You're allowed to feel. I'm here." And in that moment, the mask doesn't fall, it simply fades. Not because they stopped pretending, but because someone finally made them feel safe enough to be real. There's a side of people who pretend to be okay that no one ever sees. Not even the people closest to them. It's the side that exists in their inner world. A place where thoughts are louder than reality, and silence speaks louder than words. If you could step inside their mind for just one day, you would understand why they hide so much. Because their mind isn't empty. It's overflowing, not with drama, not with chaos, but with quiet questions that echo again and again. Why do I feel like this? Am I bothering people? Should I say something? What if they don't understand? What if I'm too much? What if staying silent is better for everyone? These questions don't scream. They whisper, softly, constantly, until silence becomes their safest language. They replay conversations in their head. The things they wanted to say but didn't. The moments they almost let their guard down. The feelings that rose to their throat but never reached their lips. And when they finally lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, their mind becomes a quiet theater. They replay memories, not the big ones, but the small ones. The time someone dismissed their emotions, the moment they tried to open up and were met with indifference. The day they realized people only notice when they fail, never when they're barely holding it together. So now, they hide, not because they're dramatic, not because they enjoy the silence, but because their mind learned long ago that speaking doesn't always equal understanding. And understanding is all they ever wanted. People who pretend to be okay operate with a deeply sensitive mind. A mind that thinks before it speaks. A mind that feels before it reacts. A mind that loves deeply but expresses slowly. They overthink kindness. Was that person being genuine? Do they really care? Should I trust this moment? They overthink distance. Did I do something wrong? Were they busy or avoiding me? Is it safer if I stay quiet? But here's the truth no one sees. Behind every emotion they hide is a heart that loves fiercely, a heart that longs for connection, a heart that wants to rest in someone's understanding. Picture them in a crowded room. Everyone is laughing, talking, enjoying the moment. They smile too, the practiced smile, the safe smile. They even join the conversation, nod at the jokes, add the right comments. But mentally, they're standing just one step behind the group, still present, but not fully there. Still engaged, but not fully connected. Their mind keeps scanning the room, asking quietly, is this a place where I can be real? Do these people only like the version of me that smiles? Would they still stay if they saw the tired version of me? This constant scanning is exhausting. That's why they love being alone, not because they hate people, but because it's the only time they feel like they don't have to act. And in that solitude, they finally breathe. No masks, no expectations, no performance. Just them in their rawest, realest, most unfiltered form. And here's the most heartbreaking part. Even when they want to ask for help, their mind stops them. They rehearse sentences like, I'm not doing well. I feel overwhelmed. I need someone. But the moment they're about to say it aloud, their mind whispers, don't. You'll regret it. So they swallow the words. They smile again, and life continues. Even when they wish it could pause. But despite everything, these individuals carry a rare kind of strength, a strength that doesn't seek applause, a strength that doesn't make noise, a strength that survives, quietly, gently, consistently. Their courage isn't in speaking. Their courage is in continuing. Day after day, moment after moment, and somewhere deep inside their mind, beneath all the questions, fears, and protective layers, there is still a small, unbroken piece of hope. Hope that someday they won't have to pretend. Hope that someone will listen, really listen. Hope that one day they'll meet a person who understands the things they never say. Because even the people who seem okay carry entire worlds inside them, worlds they're waiting to share with the right soul.